Welcome back. You're watching Corporate. Let's quickly shift focus in terms of KC International. If we can just quickly pull up the chart as well. Firstly, they've reported numbers which has been a pretty strong quarter. Apart from that, they've had an order win as well, on the back of which we're seeing gains of around 5% on the counter. If you could just quickly pull up a YTD or a one-year chart as well to ascertain the kind of growth, because the order book is looking really healthy for a KC International. There you go. 2.4 times is the kind of returns that we've seen from a KC in the last 1 year, and in the last 6 months around 22 to 23% kind of an upside that we've seen on this counter. Joining us is Vimal Kejriwal, who is the MD and CEO. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kejriwal. Overall, a pretty strong quarter is what we've seen. If you could just tell us what has led to kind of a strength in terms of earnings, and how has the order book panned out for the company?
Morning, Hiral. I think we had a very good quarter with a 22% growth in revenue, primarily driven by an increase in our transmission execution and our railway revenues doubling up from what they were. That's the primary reason for our growth. Also, there was a slight base effect because, the Q3 last year had a demon impact also. Very slight, I'll say. But overall, we had a 22% growth, and for 9 months, we are around 10% growth, which is in line with what our guidance has been.
Right. So overall, if you go to see in terms of the FY18 guidance, you still maintain it at 13,000 to 14,000 crores in terms of the order inflow?
We already have 11,300 crores of orders coming in, and we have 4,000 crores of L1. So I think we should be doing 13 and a half, maybe 14. I don't know how much of it converted. All of it will get converted, but whether before March or not, I think it should be okay.
Right. And in terms of the L1 that you mentioned, 40,000 crores is L1. 4,000 crores is L1. How much of it is from the domestic market?
More than 70% is from domestic market.
Okay. And what's the order inflow expectation from the railways in terms of where FY18 goes? What number do you expect to close that?
FY18, we have already had around 2,600 crores of order inflow from railways, and we should be hopefully getting another 1,000 crores. So we should exceed 3,500 crores of order intake in railways this year.
Okay. Apart from that, if you see in terms of the T&D business as well, which are the regions that are expected to drive growth going ahead?
Going ahead, one is clearly the Brazil market, where the EPC business is becoming very, very large and very strong. Second is the SAARC region, which is basically Bangladesh and Afghanistan. And third is the state sector. Now with the intrastate infrastructure getting built, we are seeing a lot of activities happening, especially in southern state, UP, Bihar, etc. So these are the major areas which will drive the T&D market.
Right. Apart from that, Mr. Kejriwal, the net working capital did increase to 140 days versus 108 days that we saw in March 2017. And this was mainly on the back of the delay in receipts from Saudi Arabia as well as government-funded projects in Northeast India. Any update that you could give us? Have things improved?
So one thing is that we are very clear that by 31st March we'll probably go back to the numbers which we had, last year. December is more or less in line with what we had the earlier December. That's the way the payment cycles work in government. But in Saudi we have received some large chunk out of our outstandings in this month, and government funds we should be getting. So some process delay which happened, and I think the money should be coming in any time now.
Right. So how much is expected to come in from Saudi Arabia currently? What's outstanding?
We already got around 200 crores in this month, and we should be getting another 300-400 crores by March.
Okay. And will the money that comes from Saudi Arabia used to retire debt? And if yes, at the end of FY18, what's the kind of debt profile that we would see?
This money will definitely go to retirement of debt, and there's no question about it. And debt profile, we had around 2,000 crores of debt last March, and we should be around the same number this March also.
Okay, so around a similar profile in terms of debt as well. And very lastly, in terms of FY19 as well, how is the year expected to pan out? What's the kind of order book that you are targeting? And do we see any change in terms of margin profile as well?
So margin this year we should be ending at around 10%, and hopefully going forward we are expecting that by another 50 basis points increase should happen. So it should be around 10.5 or so next year.
Right. All right, Mr. Kejriwal. Pleasure speaking to you. So 10.5 is the kind of margin profile that we could be expecting for FY19, but 10% is something that FY18 is expected to close. Another 300 to 400 crores is expected in the next, by the end of FY18, and this is in terms of where funds that are stuck in Saudi Arabia are concerned, and that money will be used to retire debt as well. That's the word coming in from the management, and the stock as well seeing gains of almost 5%. But let's quickly slip into a short break and then we will connect with CL Rathi, who's the Managing Director at Advanced Enzymes, to get a fine print of their quarter gone by. Please stay tuned.